Hard to believe now, but there was a time when British streets fell quiet, not because children were indoors, but because they were pouring outside. No beeps, no buzzes, no glowing distractions tugging at sleeves. After school, front doors opened and shut, and childhood spilled onto pavements in a way most people today can't imagine. Entertainment wasn't switched on or downloaded. It was invented on the spot, shaped by weather, daylight, and whoever happened to be nearby. Compared with today's constant digital hum, that silence feels almost shocking. Yet within it lived laughter, imagination, and freedom. For a generation together, in the years after the war, Britain rebuilt itself street by street, and those streets became something more than places to pass through. Terraced rows and council estates formed ready-made playgrounds, where everyone knew who belonged and who didn't. Traffic was lighter. Days felt longer, and the pavement outside your door was an extension of home. Children drifted out after breakfast or school and returned only when called. Back then, possessions were few, but imagination filled the gap. A single ball, a bit of chalk, or nothing at all could keep a group busy for hours. The street taught negotiation, patience, and the unspoken rules of sharing space. Arguments were settled quickly, because tomorrow you would meet again. Parents, busy with work and rebuilding lives, trusted the neighborhood to keep watch. Someone's mom was always at a window, a neighbor always listening out. Compared to today's carefully scheduled childhoods, it sounds impossibly free. Yet that freedom shaped confidence, resilience, and belonging. And once outside, the real business of childhood could finally begin. Those ordinary streets quietly became classrooms, theaters, and testing grounds, preparing children for adulthood long before anyone realized what a remarkable gift that freedom truly was, then felt. Out there, games appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. You had to be there because nothing was written down. A few lines of chalk became a maze, a challenge, or a competition that lasted until rain erased it. Someone shouted an idea, others argued, rules bent, and suddenly the game existed. No adults hovering, no instructions to follow, just shared agreement and stubborn imagination. Races were invented using lampposts, drain covers, or the far hedge as finish lines. Chasing games changed names and rules depending on who was fastest or who was tired. Once it got dark, everything shifted again. Boundaries blurred, voices dropped, and bravery was quietly tested under streetlights. Compared to today's organized activities, these games felt wild and unfinished. But that was their magic. Children learned to adapt, to lead, to lose, and to laugh it off. The freedom to invent meant every afternoon was different. And when one game faded, another rose in its place, waiting just beyond the next doorstep. Those moments stitched friendships together and lingered long after childhood itself had passed. British weather always had the final say. When rain pressed against the windows and the street emptied, children retreated indoors, not with disappointment, but with a different kind of excitement. The kitchen table became the center of the world. Cups steamed gently as tea brewed nearby, the radio murmured familiar voices, and rain tapped out a steady rhythm on the glass. Board games emerged, often missing pieces, requiring new rules and quiet negotiation. Paper, pencils, and scraps were transformed into drawings, paper creations, or imagined worlds that sprawled across the tabletop. Stories were invented, abandoned, and reshaped mid-sentence, fueled by boredom and curiosity. Compared to today's instant entertainment, those afternoons unfolded slowly. Time stretched, patience grew, and imagination did the heavy lifting. Indoors felt smaller, but minds wandered further. And when the rain finally eased, children were ready to spill back outside, carrying fresh ideas into the fading light that stayed with them long after childhood moved quietly unended. Those summers felt longer than childhood itself, stretching out in a way that seems impossible now. School holidays arrived like an open gate, and suddenly the days belonged to you. No schedules, no clocks worth watching, just mornings that drifted into afternoons without notice. Packed lunches were eaten wherever you happened to land. Grass-stained knees pressed into warm ground. Children roamed further, lingering longer, guided by instinct rather than instruction. The sun set late, and time slowed to match it. Dusk crept in almost unnoticed until a familiar voice called your name from the doorway. That was the signal. 1 more minute became 10. Compared with today's carefully managed breaks, those summers felt endless, almost weightless. You didn't know you were living inside memories being made. You only knew that tomorrow promised more of the same. When the holidays finally faded, they left behind a quiet understanding of freedom. That feeling stayed with many long after childhood itself had ended. Looking back, it's striking how much was learned without lessons ever being given. Problem solving happened naturally. When a game fell apart and had to be rebuilt, negotiation crept in through arguments, compromises, and the quiet decision to keep playing together. Resilience grew from scraped knees, lost games, and the need to try again tomorrow. Even boredom had its place. With nothing ready-made to fill the hours, imagination was stretched, tested, and strengthened. Creativity wasn't praised or measured. It simply emerged because it had to. Today, childhood looks different, shaped by tools and rhythms we couldn't have imagined then. This isn't about better or worse. It's about difference. Those earlier years quietly equipped children with confidence, patience, and independence, not through instruction, but through experience. And while times have changed, the echoes of those lessons still surface, often unexpectedly, in adult lives shaped long ago. Today, childhood often fits neatly into pockets, glowing and portable, always within reach. The change happened quietly, almost overnight. Streets grew emptier, kitchens quieter, time faster. This isn't a lament, and it isn't a judgment. It's simply a reminder of how quickly ordinary life can shift. Those earlier moments live on in memory, carried forward through stories and shared smiles. If you remember this world, you're not alone, and perhaps it's worth passing it on before it fades away gently.